5 styling secrets for loving your arms again in Sleeveless. Picture the exact moment you've been avoiding. You in that sleeveless dress, walking into the room, arms lifted and smooth under the light, not one tug at the fabric, not one hand creeping up to cover your shoulder. That is not a fantasy. That is 5 styling tricks away from exactly where you are sitting right now. The hesitation you feel reaching for Sleeveless was never a verdict on your arms. It was a gap in your information, and today, sister, that gap closes. If this is your first time here, welcome to Ever Chic at 50. This is where we hand real, usable technique to women who are done shrinking and where confidence gets built one honest detail at a time. If that sounds like your kind of place, take a moment now to subscribe to Ever Chic at 50 so you never miss what's coming next. 5 structural tricks. Not a cardigan, not a shawl thrown over what you already paid good money to show. Keep watching through trick number 4 especially. It is a piece of clothing so quiet, almost nobody your age has ever heard its name. This is for the woman who refuses to choose between elegance and comfort, dressing the arms she actually has today, not the arms in a magazine under studio lighting, not the arms she had 30 years ago. Here is trick number 1, and it starts with the fabric touching your skin because that is where every sleeveless outfit either succeeds or quietly falls apart. Trick 1, the sheer layer trick. For years, the advice handed to women past 50 was simple and honestly a little lazy. Throw a cardigan over it. Problem solved, apparently. Except a cardigan doesn't solve anything. It buries the dress you fell in love with under a second garment that fights its shape, adds bulk at the shoulder, and turns an elegant silhouette into something boxy and shapeless. You did not buy a beautiful dress just to smother it under a beige blanket the moment you walked out the door. The real fix sits underneath, not on top. A sheer mesh layer, sometimes sold as an undershirt, sometimes labeled a wing top, worn beneath the dress rather than over it, covers the upper arm in a soft, barely there fabric that reads as skin from a few feet away and has intention up close. It doesn't compete with your dress, it disappears into it. The mesh catches light instead of blocking it, so your arms still look like part of the outfit instead of something being smuggled past the room in a hurry. Look for a tone close to your own skin rather than stark white. Stark white photographs as a visible layer under flash. A matched tone photographs as your arm. And keep it snug through the upper arm rather than loose. Loose mesh bunches with movement and draws exactly the attention you're softening. Snug mesh moves with your body and reads as seamless, almost like it was built into the dress from the start. This single change, wearing structure underneath instead of piling fabric on top, answers the exposure question without answering it by hiding. You still get the sleeveless silhouette you picked the dress for in the first place. You simply choose how much of your arm does the talking and how much stays quietly softened underneath. Search for it under mesh undershell, sheer wing top, or illusion mesh top, and expect to spend somewhere between $15 and $40, depending on the fabric weight. Hand wash it or use a mesh laundry bag on the gentlest cycle your machine has, because heat and heavy agitation break down the elasticity fastest, and a stretched out mesh layer stops doing its job within a season. Buy 2 in your 2 most worn skin tones, and this trick stops being a special occasion fix and becomes something you reach for every single week. Trick 2, the Weight Willis delusion. Weightless fabric handles half the equation. The other half happens lower down, at a spot almost nobody thinks to dress for at all, the wrist. This trick runs on a rule borrowed from portrait painters long before it ever showed up in a styling guide. The eye travels toward whatever carries the most visual weight in a frame. Leave your wrist bare next to an exposed upper arm, and the eye has nowhere else to land except the part of the arm you feel least confident about. Give the wrist something bold instead, a structured cuff, a stack of bracelets with real presence, and the eye lands there at the narrowest, most elegant point of the entire entire limb. This isn't about drowning your hand in jewelry. One wide cuff in a metal that contrasts against your skin tone does more work than 5 thin bangles that blend in and vanish. Warmer gold against a cooler skin tone, silver or pewter against a warmer one. Contrast is what makes the eye stop there instead of sliding straight past. Some of you are already thinking, I don't want to look like I'm wearing a costume piece to a garden party. Fair worry. And here is the one rule that keeps it elegant rather than theatrical. Match the scale of the cuff to the scale of the dress. A delicate, fitted sheath calls for a slimmer, structured cuff. A fuller, more dramatic silhouette can carry a wider, bolder one. Match the weight of the jewelry to the weight of the garment, and it reads as tailored instead of costumed, considered instead of accidental. Picture it for a second, the dress you've been avoiding, and now a single wide cuff sitting at your wrist. Your eye already moved, didn't it? That is the entire trick, doing exactly what it was built to do. Let me pause here for a moment, because something happened to me a few weeks back that I haven't stopped thinking about. I was cleaning out a drawer and found a scarf I had been saving for the right occasion since roughly the Obama administration. Beautiful thing, untouched in over a decade, waiting for an event important enough to deserve it. Standing there with silk in my hands, I realized I had spent 10 years quietly deciding I wasn't worthy of my own scarf yet. So I wore it to the grocery store the following morning. Nobody applauded. The world did not stop turning, but I felt like myself in a way I hadn't in a while. And that is really the whole point of everything we're covering today. Not saving your best self for some future occasion that keeps getting pushed further down the calendar, but bringing her out now in the dress that has been sitting on the hanger this entire time. Tell me in the comments, what's the piece you've been saving that deserves to come out this week? I read every single one. Before we move to the neckline, let's clear up 2 myths that keep well-meaning women out of sleeveless dresses entirely, because both of them are wrong. Myth 1. Sleeveless is a young woman's silhouette, and past a certain age, you graduate out of it. There is no biological clock on a dress style. There is only confidence, and confidence is built with technique, which is exactly what today is about. Plenty of the most striking women at any wedding you've attended past 50 were wearing sleeveless. You simply weren't looking at their arms. You were looking at the way they carried themselves in the dress, which is a skill, not a birthright. Myth 2. Firmer arms need less help than softer arms, so this only applies to some of you. It doesn't. Every one of these 5 tricks is about light, line, and where the eye travels first, not about changing the arm underneath. A woman with athletic arms benefits from the V-neck pivot exactly as much as a woman who wants extra softness from the sheer layer trick. Technique does not check your arm's resume before it works. It works on the dress, the light, and the shape every time for every woman watching this. Now, on to the neckline, because it changes more about your arms than the sleeve itself ever could. Trick 3, the V-neck pivot. This is the trick that surprises people most because the real work happens above your arms entirely, at your shoulders and collarbone. A high, closed neckline on a sleeveless dress creates a straight, uninterrupted horizontal line across the top of your chest. That line reads as width. It makes the shoulders look broader and, by extension, makes the arm beneath them look heavier than it actually is. An optical trick working against you without your permission. A V-neck breaks that horizontal line and replaces it with a diagonal one, pointing down toward your center. Diagonal lines read as length. The eye follows the V downward instead of scanning sideways across your shoulders, and the entire upper body appears longer, lighter, more lifted, arms included, even though the neckline never once touched your arms. Picture the two side by side, a high, round neckline sitting flat flat across the collarbone, arms reading heavy, shoulders reading square. Now, the same woman in a V that drops 3 or 4 inches, and everything above the waist appears to have gained an inch of height and shed real weight purely from one line changing direction. Depth matters here. Too shallow and you lose the effect almost completely. The line barely interrupts the horizontal at all. Too deep and you're managing a different wardrobe question altogether. A drop of 3 to 4 inches below the collarbone tends to do the most lifting without asking you to think about coverage all evening long. Think of it this way next time you're at the rack. A boat neck or a high crew neck sleeveless, no matter how nice the fabric, is working against your shoulders before you've even zipped it up. The same dress in a moderate V, same fabric, same color, same price point even, will lift the entire upper body the moment you put it on. When two dresses look nearly identical except for that one line at the collarbone, the V wins for you every time. Trick 4, the compression arm sleeve. This is the one I promised you at the very start, the piece so quiet almost nobody talks about it by name. It's a compression-style arm sleeve, a smooth second skin layer worn directly on the upper arm underneath a sleeveless dress, doing the structural work that firming lotions and hopeful thinking never quite manage on their own. It comes from the same family of fabric as medical-grade compression wear, but shaped and finished for exactly this purpose, gently smoothing and lightly lifting the upper arm, the same way shapewear has quietly done for the midsection for decades. Nobody built the true equivalent for arms until fairly recently, which is precisely why so few women your age have ever heard of it. Texture matters enormously here, because this is where I know some of you get stuck without seeing the product up close. You're looking for a matte, brushed finish, not glossy, not shiny, something closer to the feel of a good cotton t-shirt than a stocking. Glossy compression fabric catches light in camera flash and announces itself as a layer. Matte compression fabric absorbs light the way skin does and simply disappears into the rest of you.
Fit runs firm, but should never pinch, dig, or leave a visible line at the top of the arm when you lift it. Try it on. Raise your arm overhead the way you would waving to a friend across a room, and check that top edge in the mirror. A well-fitted sleeve stays smooth. A poorly sized one folds over and creates the very bulge it was supposed to prevent in the first place. Trick 5, the column of color. This is the fastest of the 5 to put into practice because it costs you nothing beyond a decision you make while getting dressed. Break your outfit into 2 or 3 separate colors, a dress in one shade, a cardigan or wrap in a contrasting shade, shoes in a third, and you've drawn horizontal lines across your body at the waist and the ankle, chopping the entire silhouette into visual sections. Each section gets measured by the eye on its own, arms included, and separate sections read as shorter and wider than one continuous shape ever would. Dress the entire body in one color family instead. The dress, the light layer over it, even the shoes leaning toward the same tone, and those horizontal breaks disappear. The eye reads one long column from shoulder to ankle instead of 3 stacked sections, and a single column reads taller and slimmer than the same body broken into parts. Your arms benefit specifically because they're no longer being measured against a scarf or a shoe in a competing shade. They're simply part of one long, elegant line. You don't need 4 shades of the exact same color to pull this off. A dress in deep emerald, a light wrap in sage, shoes in a forest green 2 shades off, that's a column. The tones can drift slightly, and the effect holds completely, as long as everything stays within the same family instead of jumping around the color wheel. Carry this rule into your bag and your sunglasses too, and the column runs uninterrupted from your shoulders to the ground. A neutral bag in beige or black works with almost any color family and won't break the line the way a bright contrasting bag will. Sunglasses are the one place you're allowed to break the rule entirely because they sit above the column rather than inside it, and a bold frame there adds personality without cutting the silhouette apart.
3 quick bonus fixes. Before we close, 3 quick bonus fixes, because it would be doing you a disservice to leave them out. Should your dress fit everywhere except the shoulder, too wide, too loose, gapping at the armhole where a sleeve would normally sit, a tailor can take in that seam for the cost of a nice dinner out, and it solves a problem none of the 5 tricks above can touch. Sometimes the fix isn't clever styling at all. It's $20 and a good tailor a few blocks from your house. Should you sweat through nerves or summer heat and worry about it showing at the armhole, a set of small adhesive dress shields worn directly against the inside seam catches it before it ever reaches the fabric, and they peel off and disappear when the night is over. Nobody needs to know they were there. And should you ever feel the armhole sitting a touch too far out toward your shoulder, exposing more side than you intended, a small strip of fashion tape run along the inner edge pulls the fabric closer to the body without a single stitch. It's the same trick used backstage at fashion shows for decades, quietly borrowed for a Tuesday dinner out.
You don't need to use all 5 of these by Tuesday. Pick the one that speaks loudest to the dress hanging in your closet right now. Should the sleeve be what you've been avoiding? Start with trick 4. Should the shoulder line bother you more than the arm itself? Start with trick 3. Should jewelry already be something you love reaching for? Trick 2 costs you nothing but a different cuff on your way out the door. There is no wrong door into this. There is only the door you haven't opened yet. Because here is the truth sitting underneath every one of these 5 tricks. The dress was never the problem. The dress has been ready this whole time, hanging exactly where you left it, waiting on you rather than the other way around. Sleeveless was never a style reserved for a younger woman who hasn't earned her softness yet. It's a style for any woman confident enough to let her arms be seen doing what they've done for 50, 60, 70 years of living, carrying children, carrying groceries, carrying grief, carrying joy, carrying every single day that brought you to this one. That is not something to cover. That is something to wear. Somewhere along the way, a lot of us absorbed a quiet rule nobody actually wrote down. Cover more as the years go on. Take up less space. Dress to be overlooked rather than seen. Nobody handed you that rule on purpose. It just accumulated, one hesitant mirror check at a time, until it started feeling like fact instead of habit. Today, with 5 real techniques in your hands instead of a vague sense of should, you get to set that rule down. Not because your arms changed overnight, because your information did. Tell me in the comments which of these 5 tricks you're trying first and which dress finally comes off the hanger this week. I read every comment and I answer as many as I possibly can. If this helped even a little, subscribe to Ever Chic at 50 before you go, and stay close for what's coming next, because next time we're covering the 7 pieces elegant women over 50 quietly stop buying, and one of them might already be sitting in your closet. Your arms were never the problem. Now go wear the dress.